Yesterday was the preliminary competition of Miss Universe Philippines, and I had the opportunity to attend. Child, where do I even begin? My dumbass was even filming a whole vlog about the entire experience. I had my outfit ready, I had my itinerary ready, I have the ideas of what I was gonna be doing. I was even doing some live commentary of basically my first impressions and perceptions of everything that was going down during the preliminary competition of Miss Universe Philippines. Unfortunately, none of those things were able to be completed for reasons that we're gonna be discussing today. Let me start by giving you some of the good points about the preliminary competition, which I actually thought were a step in the right direction. First of all, I thought the stage was beautiful. Just a couple of moments before the show started, before I entered the venue, I was able to see some photos on social media. It was trending, I think, in like Becky's of Pageantry, and the stage looked incredible. Even compared to last year's stage for preliminaries, this was most definitely a step in the right direction. Usually, there is not a lot of effort that is put into the preliminary stage because it's a very linear type of show. Basically, the girls walk in swimsuit. Then after that, they walk in evening gown, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and the special awards. Let's not forget about those. I also thought that the hosts were incredible last night. Michelle D was one of the hosts, and the other guy, I kind of forget his name, but he was also really good. They had good chemistry, and even when there were some missteps, which is bound to happen in this type of, live environments, they were able to, make a joke about it or laugh it off and really keep pushing without it being overly awkward or anything of the sorts. Now, talking about this type of live experiences, let's talk about some of the negative aspects of the show per se. And the first one, and definitely surprising to me, is that there was no official live stream for the preliminary competition. This is, I don't know about before, but at least in my personal experience, this is unheard of when it comes to Miss Universe Philippines. I am not sure about what was the logic behind the no live stream thing. I thought they were gonna live stream it on YouTube, at least on the Empire PH YouTube page, but no, there was actually no live stream at all. I was also very surprised because, as I told you earlier, I was making a whole vlog about the experience. I walk into the venue and I'm walking around with my little camera, basically, which is very easy to carry around and film everything. And the first thing that Kuya told me is no recording, and I said, what? No. I mean, this is basically what a lot of people come for. People pay for a ticket in order to attend the show, but also to keep memories of the event. This is something that a lot of people enjoy. Family members go there to support the candidates. So of course they want to take photos and videos of the delegates. The pageant fans are there also to meet the delegates, to record little snippets. The media is there working, basically. The families won't be able to get those photos, and the media won't be able to get the material that they need in order to work and at the same time promote the show. I mean, it was just very confusing to me as a pageant fan and as part of the media as well. Granted, there were official photographers there and videographers from the organization. The show was being filmed clearly. There's no questions about that. But I thought it's a very odd decision to basically keep everyone else from capturing their own moments and memories of what the preliminary competition was. So that was my major complaint when it comes to the show. Okay, so let's get into what all of you guys are here for. So I'm going to talk about the preliminary competition per se. Since I was not allowed to record or take photos while the show was happening, I wrote down basically my standouts, the girls who performed really well in my opinion. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the swimsuit competition portion of it, and then we're gonna go through the evening gown portion of it, and then at the end, so make sure that you're staying until the end, I'm gonna be sharing with you guys some of the surprises of the night, in my opinion. Surprises might be positive or negative. I have thoughts about girls who I expected to deliver a lot and they didn't, just like there were girls who I was not expecting much and they actually over delivered and exceeded my expectation. The first girl that I wanted to highlight for the swimsuit competition was actually Miss Australia. Now, I've been saying this for the past couple of days or videos that I've been posting here on the channel. Every time that I get to talk about Miss Australia, if you been here since the beginning, you know that she kind of has like grown in me in terms of styling, in terms of her performance. Since the very beginning, I thought she has potential, but there's something missing there. Well, last night Miss Australia was a star from beginning to end. I thought that her performance was enjoyable. The styling was great. The hair was looking incredible, so voluminous. And I feel like it was her night. There's no other way to put it. The girl was really shining on stage. Very similar comment for Victoria Velasquez Vincent that, I mean, oh my God, Victoria, it is no secret that this time around she came back to Miss Universe Philippines stronger than ever. But last night, I think it was truly her moment to showcase all of the growth. You know, up until now, we have gotten some snippets here and there of what she's capable of, you know, with the runway challenge, with some of this, you know, little virtual challenges that we have been getting up until now. But last night, it just felt like Victoria was at her prime. This was her peak, basically, within the competition, which I think is an excellent thing to do during finals, actually during prelims, because going into finals, the girl basically will have the highest chance of obtaining a high placement and then outperform the rest once again in trying to compete for the biggest crown, right? So I thought that was very, very clever. Baguio, I'm going to keep for the end because I want to talk about her for my basically surprises of the night. But I want to put the spotlight on another one of the girls that we have been basically warning pageant fans for a while, and more than a warning, I feel like even pageant fans have been acknowledging this girl for quite some time. But in the beginning, most of us were sleeping on her, and that goes, of course, to Miss Bulacan, Chelsea Manalo. I just absolutely love Chelsea's stage presence. She is so commanding, so fierce. She knows her angles. She knows that she is extremely, you know, glamorous, sexy. She has this power that exudes out of her, and I thought that last night was just the perfect showcase of all of those things. On top of that, I would also like to say that I enjoyed the change in basically styling. She looked incredible with the hair. She was able to take a risk, and I think, in my opinion, that it really paid off for Chelsea. I've mentioned before that she is a model, and clearly the model part of it was on display last night. Being a model and a beauty queen is not exactly the same thing, but the way that she carried herself on stage, it was a home run. So congratulations, Chelsea and Team Chelsea. Y'all were amazing. Miss Cagayan de Oro was one of the girls who actually surprised me a lot during the swimsuit competition. I thought that her performance was just incredible. So much attitude, so much charisma. The way that she carried herself on stage, she was fierce from beginning to end. And the hair, the hairography was giving me the fantasy that I needed. And, you know, that's one of the things that I feel like was able to set her apart from everyone else. She has like this very long ponytail, very full ponytail that it just grabbed my attention and made sure that I couldn't miss even one step of her entire performance. To me, she's more of a dark horse in the competition. I think that she was able to step it up at the right moment. Miss Kahinta, Stacey Gabriel, once again, as usual, outperforming a lot of the girls and just looking absolutely incredible. Stacey had her signature slow motion walk on stage, and I think that she honestly gave us one of her best performances just yet. Stacey has this vibe that she feels so effortless on stage, and although you can see that there is a lot of technical preparation that goes into her presentation, she isn't necessarily pushing it so hard to the point that it feels forced. I'm going to say though about Stacey, this is something that we have seen a couple of times already, the slow walk and whatever, so there were not many surprises in the performance per se, but the execution of it was immaculate as usual. Miss Cebu, Chris Tiffany Jensen, oh my goodness. This type of comment that I'm going to give you right now, it also applies to another girl that I'm going to be talking about later, but I thought Chris just gave us such an effortless performance. She is not quite the stunner that will go out and give us like 1,000 turns and whatever and make the most out of it, but I feel like Chris' performance on stage is a little bit more classic. It's a little bit more, you know, basically when you think about the time that she competed at Binibining Pilipinas and those years, basically I feel like Chris has been able to keep the essence of those type of performances, but update it a little bit to match today's energy and today's vibe. I thought she looked incredible. It didn't feel like she was trying to be somebody else. I mean, Chris is one of the most beautiful faces in the competition, and I thought that she was able to showcase through her performance her grace, her charisma, and just come across as the queen that we know she is. Miss Iloilo, Alexi Brooks, I'm going to say up until the moment that Alexi Brooks came out on stage, I was quite nervous because I was like, what is going to happen? This is such a big moment for Alexi. In previous competitions, we have been saying, you have to manage the facial expressions and all of these things. So I didn't know quite yet what to expect from Alexi. But to be honest, she delivered, and I'm so happy with Alexi's performance. Her body looked amazing, so toned. There is nothing that I can criticize physically speaking. I thought that Alexi was having fun on stage. There were no awkward, facial expressions whatsoever. She seemed to be in really, really good spirits. And I thought that she was one of the girls that really put the focus on the performance, how she presented herself on stage from the moment that she walked out to, the different poses she was striking, the way that she was looking at the camera, the judges, everything was really on point for me. And I thought up until that point, up until this moment in the competition, at least during the swimsuit challenge, I thought that Alexi was the standout so far for me alongside Victoria Velasquez-Payton. I thought that the two of them combined were basically taking it home up until that point. Miss Palawan was another one of the girls that really was able to amaze me. Already just the height that this woman has is so commanding. And I know, because some of you sometimes point this out, I know that height is not necessarily a requirement anymore in pageantry. I myself am very vocal about, not really caring about if a girl is short or very tall for a competition. I don't think it's a factor. But it is undeniable that when a woman is really tall, you kind of have to look at her. There's something about her that, it drags your attention. And I'm going to say being tall comes with certain advantages, but it also comes with certain challenges, because in my opinion, when you are tall, you have this capacity to bring people's attention, as I said earlier, but you also have to really know how to coordinate your body, how to present yourself, because taller bodies, in my opinion, can be a little bit more awkward on stage. Perfect from beginning to end. And every single time that I'm reminded that this woman is only 18 years old is kind of like mind-blowing to me, because I thought that she looked on stage like a seasoned queen, not just with the performance, but also with the styling, her confidence, the way that she presented herself in front of the judges and the camera. This was a home run. So Palawan, you should be so proud. One of the girls who surprised me the most during the preliminary competition was Miss Pampanga, Cyril Payumo. Not just she gave us a killer performance during the swimsuit route, but even from the very first moment during the opening number, when the girls were coming out on stage and doing the introductions, Pampanga was the standout of her group to me. So girl, I don't know what you're eating, what you're drinking, but whatever you're doing is really working. I thought that, before, when I did some predictions, when I did some of my rankings, I was always hesitant, like, is Cyril really up there, like top 20 or top 10? To me, her performance last night was enough to secure a top 10 position. So I hope that Cyril is going to keep up this energy, bring it with her to finals, because at this point, more than ever, I think that she is closer to obtaining a high placement. And who even knows? I mean, there are technically 5 crowns this year, so she might even go home with a crown. You proved me that you're an incredible performer, and I cannot wait to see you during finals. Let's talk about Quezon Province, Atisa Manalo. Where to begin? Atisa's performances last night were so delightful. I enjoyed every single moment of the competition for Atisa. I think that this was similar to my comment to VVV. This was Atisa's peak during the competition. There has not been a better presentation for her, whether it is on the swimsuit presentation or the evening gown, but I'm going to talk about that later. I thought that her energy was incredible. There were no missteps. There was no awkward moments. She knew how to strike her poses. She knew where to look at the camera. She spent time, kind of like connecting with the judges. And overall, she looked amazing. I did feel like when it comes to the hairstyling, the hair looked a little bit stiff. I would have liked for the hair to be a little bit more bouncy, more flowy, more airy. Other than the hair thing, the performance, this was Atisa's night. There hasn't been a better moment in the competition so far. And again, I think that ultimately she managed to secure that top position that she has been trying to get. Before, I've been critical of Atisa, saying that I still see some, Miss International traits, and her essence basically is a little bit like Miss International like. But going into the preliminary competition of Miss Universe Philippines, there is no denying that Atisa is fully prepared now to perform as a Miss Universe Philippines. And I think that the best is yet to come during finals. So let's wait for that. Southern California was another one of the girls who really surprised me during that night. But let's be honest, it wasn't really a surprise. I haven't seen so many people advocating for Miss Southern California, but if you look back on my videos, on my content, I have been always warning you about this girl. I really like her look. I really like her type of beauty. I have always vibed with her styling. I think that she always looks impeccable. And I always thought that she was a great performer. From the times that she got to do it, in Boracay to the runway presentation, I always thought that this girl brought something unique, something different to the table that it's not always so easy to find when it comes to all of the other girls, especially having such a big batch, over 50 candidates in this particular competition. I think that she's doing an incredible job at, putting herself out there and making sure that she is noticed. Similar to my comment to other girls, I also feel like Southern California peaked last night. So this was by far her best presentation just yet. Before we wrap up the swimsuit segment, I want to talk about Taguig, my girl, Christy McGarry, who made me so proud last night. And I'm going to say a couple of things. Okay, so remember when I talked earlier about Chris Jensen and I said, that she has this vibe that is very classic. I have the same feeling about Christy. I have said this myself before and I have heard it as well from other bloggers, people complaining about Christy's energy, about her presentation, lacking a little bit more of, bonga vibes, because this is usually what pageant fans, especially nowadays, love to see on stage. I feel like Christy brings a little bit more of that classic beauty queen vibe. We have to understand that Christy comes from basically the previous generation of beauty queens, when she competed at Binibining Pilipinas, when she competed at Miss Intercontinental. It's not necessarily the vibe that we are seeing right now. Although Christy has been able to adapt new elements, some of the turns, make it more exciting, make it a little bit more bonga. Those things I feel like are still present in there. And because of that, when I was watching Christy's performance last night, I thought, you know what, this girl is really giving me a Miss Universe performance, okay? Right now, at a national level, a lot of girls will try to give a little bit too much, put so much energy just to outshine the others, to basically make people notice them. But that doesn't mean that they will go to Miss Universe and do all that. Remember, Miss Universe is not Miss Grand. It's not about being the loudest or delivering the craziest performance or being the most out there. It's all about basically looking regal, glamorous, sexy, fierce at the same time. It's not about how many turns you do in a span of 30 seconds. So in that sense, I have to give Christy her flowers. Props to you, my girl. I was not so crazy about her swimsuit presentation in Boracay, but her performance last night during prelims was her best one so far, in my humble opinion. All right, now let's move on and let's talk about the evening gown presentation, the second most important competition of the night. Although, both swimsuit and evening gown are judged the same way, but personally, I do enjoy a little bit more of the swimsuit presentation. Nevertheless, evening gown is very important. To be honest, the girls that I'm going to be talking about are quite similar, although there are a couple of surprises here. Let's start by talking about Miss Victoria Velasquez Vincent representing Bacoor. Oh my God. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I knew that Victoria was going to be wearing a forenet gown because when I went to Cebu a couple of weeks ago for Maria Gigante's homecoming, we were able to meet with the designer. I heard about the conversation of them working together, as well as Victoria basically collaborating for her Miss Universe Philippines journey. So I knew the designer who was going to provide the gown, but I was not ready for the design. Oh, Victoria looked like a butterfly on stage. I thought that the silhouette of the dress was so flattering to her body, to her physique, that obviously she has been working and training so hard. She looked incredible from beginning to end. And I thought that the dress wasn't like so extravagant, so overly done, just enough to help her stand out, wear something unique compared to everyone else, and just basically set her apart from everyone else. So this was a home run for Victoria. Kainta, let's talk about Stacy, who also looked divine in her gown. I remember as if it was yesterday when I attended the sash ceremony for Stacy, and she talked about basically the designs that she wanted to wear for the competition and how she wanted to be perceived and the people that she was working with in order to make sure that she always looked her best. And although there have been certain missteps at some point in the competition for Stacy, I think that last night's dress was incredible. She looked like a Miss Universe. Not just with the dress, which of course was glorious, but also the makeup, the hair, everything was perfectly executed for Stacy. And combined with her performance that she always nails, I had no complaints about Stacy like at all. I wanted to put the spotlight as well. On Miss Cebu, who, to be honest, in my opinion, did not have the best gown of the night. This gown was not my favorite by any means, but I thought that she looked good in it. And I really enjoyed, this is why she's on my list, I really enjoyed her performance, basically her presentation on stage. I think that her vibe is very appropriate, very adequate for this type of presentations for evening gown, because she is, to begin with, very glamorous, very regal. So I love the way that she carried herself on stage. I'm giving her a lot of points for the performance rather than for the dress itself. But overall, I think that when you look at it globally, it was a very successful presentation. So Miss Hawaii was also extremely beautiful last night. She was giving us a red, vibrant gown with red lips, big hair, and very fair skin. So she looked incredible. This gown felt to me like a nod, like an homage to Catriona Gray's lava gown. And to be honest, we did have a couple of those moments all throughout the night of girls referencing Catriona Gray and the lava gown, which is so iconic. But in my opinion, out of all of those red gowns, Miss Hawaii had the most successful one, basically the one that looked the best. I also enjoyed the add of the sleeves because it just gave it a little bit more of a fashion element and kind of took away from the pageant vibe gown type of thing. So I liked the balance that it created, basically. Iloilo, once again, Alexi Brooks came out looking incredible. I think that you can't really go wrong with silver and gold, and Alexi and her team are very aware of that. Her gown also felt like an homage, almost like a tribute to her winning gown during her basically Miss Iloilo days. If you go and look back at those photos, the gown was also cropped in the middle, so you had the bottom part of it and the top. This was basically the same vibes. I did hear from a couple of people in the venue that Alexi that night was giving basically Sozi vibes. And although I know that there is like a negative connotation with those comparisons, basically people try to discredit Alexi from, joining Miss Universe Philippines with her look because they said, oh, it's already been done before. I don't see it as something negative. At the end of the day, Sozi was a winner of Miss Universe back in her day. And I think that Alexi kind of embodying that essence, carrying herself with so much confidence, it's only a compliment, okay? I also thought that in terms of performance, Alexi's performance is nothing like Sozi, so I don't see why there is a comparison in that end. Alexi is a little bit more out there with the performance, a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more eccentric with her poses, the way that she kind of like caresses her body and showcases her silhouette and every single moment. I just don't see it. If people claim anything from Sozi, I just think it's a compliment. To put it that way, the performance itself was very Alexi Brooks. It had nothing to do with Sozi Bini. So let me know, you guys, how do you feel about Alexi? Both of her performances during swimsuit and evening gown were very successful, and I'm crossing fingers that maybe we will see her advance into the top 5, top 3, and why not even win the crown. So let's stay tuned for that. Miss Laguna, Alexandra Rosales, was one of my absolute favorites. If you have been a subscriber for long enough, you know that I absolutely I adore the color purple. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful color, and she combined it with silver, which makes it pop out even more. And as a coincidence, the moment that Alexandra was coming out on stage, the backdrop of the screens also turned purple, so it was just perfect. Alexandra is so charismatic, so beautiful. She carries herself so well. She knows how to perform. So combining all of those things with a killer gown, I think, honestly, she was one of my favorites during the evening gown presentation. No bias or anything like that. This was a home run for her. Very similar feeling here for Miss Palawan, who, again, at such a young age and 18 years old, being able to overshadow a lot of these very experienced girls and girls who have like huge teams behind them. I think that Palawan's potential is really unmatched. She went for a very traditional look in terms of her evening gown, as well as her hairstyling, makeup. Everything felt very classy, which I did enjoy, because nowadays we see some girls taking some risks that sometimes do pay off, sometimes not so much. But for Palawan this night, it was just perfect. Miss Mampanga, Cyril Payumo, also had an incredible performance all throughout that evening gown presentation. And similar to my comment earlier from Miss Cebu, I was not so crazy about Miss Pampanga's gown. I thought that the mix of fringe with the fabric in the front and the back, which was a little bit heavier, a little bit more stiff, it added a weird dynamic. The fringe moves a lot and is very flowy, but the front and the back are quite stiff. Similar to Chris, again, I'm giving her points. I'm giving her her flowers because of the performance. Cyril honestly has come out as one of the greatest performers of the batch, and I thought that last night, since the beginning, opening number, swimsuit competition, evening competition, it was undeniable that she's one of the girls who stole the spotlight, who basically claimed the attention, and who was able to crown herself in that sense, because a lot of people, myself included before, kind of doubt about her capacity. It's like, is she really up there? Are we like overestimating her? I don't know. But last night, it was just proof that whatever she was doing, she knew how to do it, and she was doing it well. Now let's talk about Atisa Manalo, Miss Quezon Province. Damn. As I told you earlier for the swimsuit presentation, I think that Atisa brought her A game to the swimsuit competition. This energy also translated very well to the evening gown competition. Atisa went for quite a classic design. This is your type of, pageant dress. This is nothing too fashion forward, too outside of the box, too editorial. She went, I would say, the safe route, but in a way that really paid off for her, because she felt extremely confident. She felt in her element. She looked effortless, like she was enjoying the performance. And remember what I was telling you earlier, when we see that you are enjoying the performance, we enjoy it with you. Atisa already has such a strong support system that I think that people didn't really want her to take any major risks. They just wanted to see Atisa giving us what we already know and love about her, the things that we know that she does so well, that she's so capable of doing, and that is being regal, being glamorous, offering that soft side of hers that she knows how to do so well, while adding a little bit of, an edge that she also knows how to do so well. I did comment earlier about the hair. I did wish that it was a little bit, bouncier, a little bit softer, but overall, she looked incredible when it comes to the evening gown, and the performance was also very, very appropriate. Let's talk about Christy McGarry, Miss the Gig. I was blown away by her performance during the evening gown presentation. She looked so incredible, and I was pleasantly surprised because I kind of knew already the color of her gown for prelims, but I wasn't so sure if it was going to be prelims or finals, because when we had the interview here on the channel, Christy actually opened up about her story and the preparation, and then she told me about the gown and the color and the message behind it. But she asked me later on if I could remove it from the interview because she wanted to keep the surprise for the fans, and of course, so I did. I'm glad we did it, because honestly, the surprise of seeing her come out looking so incredible last night, nothing can take away from that. Christy, I think that she proved everyone that at this point in the competition, she is still very much a threat for the crown of Miss Universe Philippines. We know that unlike most of the girls in the competition, Miss Universe is the only crown that Christy is eligible for. Although there are other crowns, now we have 4 different crowns that will be awarded to the girls in the competition. Christy can only go for Miss Universe because of age. She has aged out for every other single title, but Miss Universe is the one that she still can claim. And I feel like last night, it was the perfect proof that Christy is still in her fighting element, in fighting form, and that she still can outshine a lot of these newbies, a lot of these fan favorites, a lot of these social media people. Do not sleep on Christy. This woman is here to fight, and I just hope that she will give us something just as good or even better for finals. Now to wrap up my evening gown favorites, let's talk about Miss Zambales. Honestly, when I saw Anita come out on stage, this was just a feast to the eyes because from head to toe, she looked incredible. I was actually on the 6th row, so I couldn't see the material of the gown, but there was something with that gown that it was so bright. It shined so much. The reflection of the light against the gown, it was just out of this world. She looked like a living diamond, basically. So I'm imagining that the gown was had like several, small stones. Anita is a performer. She is a seasoned queen in, maybe not in nationals, but mostly in regional pageants. She has extensive experience, and I think that all of those moments that she was able to prepare, and I think that all of those different pageants prepare her for this particular time at nationals. There isn't much that we can criticize. I thought that in terms of the look, she was able to own it. She came out with something unique that made her stand out in her own right. So just like I said for so many of these other girls, I hope that she's able to keep up this same energy, to bring it for finals, and at the end of the day, just have fun with it, because she's not doing anything wrong. From beginning to end of the competition, Anita has been delivering looks, great performance, consistency, and I just want to see her bring that energy to finals. And why not give us even more? Give us everything you got, because so far, as pageant fans, I am just having a blast with this entire experience. Now let's talk about some of the surprises of the night. This is where the video is going to get juicy, because I mean, you guys, so far I'm just basically talking about the girls who stood out in my opinion, and that is to be expected. But now let's talk about the real things. And trust me, some of the things are great, some of the things are quite unfortunate, but believe me, there is no bad blood here. There is no negative vibes being sent to the girls. This is just basically an honest conversation. Can we talk about Baguio for a moment? Tara Valencia. Okay, so we have always seen her as a threat basically for the top 5 ranking. I have always been very vocal about Tara being a great performer. Her looks are always on point, and we have always basically praise her team so highly, because at such a young age, Tara has managed to outshine and outperform most of the delegates in this year's edition. I do not know what happened last night. I thought that this was not Tara's best night, in the sense that the performance did not deliver the level of energy that I was expecting from her. I have seen better performances from her already in Boracay, in Sultan Kudarat, even during the runway presentation. Tara has always been one of those girls that, effortlessly, without even having to try so hard, she is able to make herself stand out. Last night, unfortunately, it was not the case for me. I do not think, though, that this will cost her a top 20 placement. So my hope is that during finals, she is able to get her energy right, to make sure that there are no missteps, because this could easily cost her, a top 5 placement. In my opinion, before she was going for that top 5. Now, I think that with the performance that she had during prelims, if she's able to correct it, to address it, she might be aiming for a top 10 position. I was not a fan of the gown, and I thought that, blue was just not her color. The gown was ill-fitting on her. And at the same time, the swimsuit presentation just lacked energy, in my opinion. Now let's talk about Northern California, who, unfortunately, it really pained my heart to see her downfall during the preliminary competition. I thought that this was such an important moment for her, because up until now, there has been a lot of conversation. Realistically, Kyla was one of the most hyped girls since the beginning of Miss Universe Philippines. I believe she is also one of the most followed candidates, if not the most followed. So of course, she had a lot of attention on her, a lot of eyes, and people expecting for her to deliver something that realistically, it never really came. We never got a performance that lived up to the hype that she was having all throughout the competition. And this is not, I'm not saying this in a mean sense, because I see her trying, I see her effort, I see her trying to give the best of herself. But unfortunately, every single attempt so far has been falling flat. I do think, however, she excels in the communication field, but when it comes to performance and the presence on stage, there is so much work that needs to be done. During the swimsuit presentation, the moment that Kayla came out on stage, the fabric basically that she had covering her waistline fell. It got, she stepped on it, and basically the fabric fell to the floor. So The first incident here was that I think that it threw her off a little bit. And the second mistake was that she actually stopped the performance to pick up the piece of fabric. And I'm going to say two things. This was her downfall because it made it look awkward. It made it look like it's an accident. Worst case scenario, if you just ignore it, people might think that, oh, maybe she just wanted to lose it there, or she wanted to drop it earlier. I don't know. But the moment that she stopped the performance to pick it up, it just gave it away that this is basically like a wardrobe malfunction. I didn't blame her for it. I didn't judge her for it because I thought, this type of fabric on the floor, a girl could easily trip if like whoever is coming after her, if she just leaves it on the floor, one of the girls might trip, someone might have an accident. If some of the crew members don't see it, this could turn really badly. So I cannot give her a hard time for stopping and just picking up the fabric, but I thought that it did take away from her performance. Even with the walk and the way that she presented herself during that presentation, already felt like Kyla was defeated. That was the energy that I was getting from her. And when she came out once again for the evening gown, which by the way, her evening gown was great. She looked incredible, so beautiful, but the energy was already dead. You could see it in the performance, you could see it in the walk, you could see it in the face. And when we are getting that energy, it basically ruins the experience for the delegate and for the audience. I always tell this to the girls, just at this point, just have a good time. Because if we are part of the audience or even part of the judging panel, if you're having fun, we're having fun because we see you smiling, we see you, enjoying the moment. And that's what we want to get from the pageant. Nobody wants to go there and see like serious faces. So unfortunately, this was not Kyla's moment. Earlier, I talked about Miss Australia and how great her performance was. I also liked her styling in terms of, the hairstyling, the makeup. She looked incredible. I did not enjoy the looks. Okay, let's remove from that the swimsuit look, because that's standard for everyone. But I did not love the gown that she was wearing. It felt like a nod to Katrina Gray's lava dress. It wasn't elevated to that level, to that standard, to make it seem like, oh, this is an homage to Catriona. It just seemed like a copy of it. So in my opinion, it didn't do any favors for the gown that she was wearing. Another one of the surprises of the night was Stacey Gabriel, Miss Kaintap, not getting any special awards, which I thought it was crazy because Stacey is a front runner. Arguably in any category that you're judging her, the girl is at least in the top 5 for each one of those categories, whether it is communication skills, whether it is swimsuit competition, whether it is evening gown competition. She was just so well-rounded all throughout the competition. So I did not understand how come she didn't get any special awards, like at all. I'm a little bit nervous now because of that going into finals, because I think that, special awards are not necessarily like a deal breaker, but at the same time, it kind of shows who the sponsors are basically interested in working with, who they want to collaborate with, and who they see as, basically a marketable queen, which I think Stacey definitely is. So I was surprised to see that she did not get any special awards. I talked about this earlier a little bit, but I was so happy to see that the veterans showed up and showed out. My girl, Chris Tiffany Jensen, as well as Christy McGarry, both of them delivered incredibly in both presentations for the swimsuit and the evening gown. I thought that Christy was amazing in both of them. I did prefer, though, her evening gown presentation, and for Chris, it was quite the opposite. I preferred her swimsuit presentation to her evening gown, but overall, both presentations were very successful for both of them. So I'm really happy to see that my girls, my veterans, are delivering, that they are exceeding our expectation and kind of like slapping those people who dare to bash them because of their age, because they think that, women of a certain age, or women who basically were not eligible before because of the age restrictions, shouldn't be there now. Because girls, you just did amazing. Keep up the energy. Even give us a little bit more if you can for finals. But overall, my heart is extremely happy. Last but not least, I also wanted to highlight two of the front runners, the talk of the town, of course, the people that everyone compares, which are Alexi Brooks and Atisa Manalo. I'm so happy because both of them delivered during this particular presentation. I thought that for both of them, there were no moments that made me feel like, oh, they could have done better, or I was expecting more. And I feel like their performances translated really well, at least on the venue. Remember, this was not live stream or anything like that, but the audience was really responding so well to both of them. Ultimately, I think that with their performances and also comparing them to everyone else, because remember, it's not just Alexi and Atisa going for the crown. There's a lot of other girls who also have potential. At least I think that both of them secured their top 5 placement for finals, and I'm really interested to see how they're going to go head to head during finals, precisely, especially when it comes to the Q&A round. But I do think that at this particular time, it is safe to say that both of them have proved that they are deserving of a crown. And I don't know if it's going to be the Miss Universe one or a different crown, but I am pretty confident that both of them are gonna go home with a title. So there you go, everyone. Those were pretty much my comments, my summary of what went down during the preliminary competition of Miss Universe Philippines 2024. I tried to do this more as a conversation type of video, almost like a podcast, because as I told you guys, as you guys saw, I'm sure, there was no live stream, no photos, no anything official taken yet about, from this competition. So it's hard for me to provide any visual support to, kind of justify any of these things. So these are basically my thoughts, my unfiltered, honest opinions about everything that went down. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Please be part of the conversation down below. For those of you who are able to attend and want to add something, or for those of you who might have specific questions, feel free to leave them down below and I will try to answer them as much as I possibly can. Thank you for watching again, and I will see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to drop a like on the video, subscribe, comment, share, join the channel if you want to support even further, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye now.